All right, we are live and in living color. It's us here on the And Just Like That After Show here on JLJ Media. Emily May is here. Hello, Miss Emily May.
Hello.
And I'm here, of course. And you guys are piling in the chat room, so come to the chat room, talk to us. If you watched it, let me know. If you've not watched it yet, turn it, don't come on, go watch it, and then come back afterwards. It will be up for you to watch for the rest of your lives.
We do give spoilers, so there will be spoilers.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. We give spoilers. Spoiler. Yes, so we give lots of spoiler alerts because we're going to talk about the episode 4 on Max. I keep wanting to say HBO Max, on Max. It's a Max original series. So I should remember my brother's name was Max. Yeah. Yes, remember that. Original series. I keep saying HBO. We saw the return of some folks. We got to see Gloria Steinem. Like, I was kind of crazy. Billy D. Williams showed up. I'm like, what's going on there? So we got some stuff to talk about, of course, for this episode. So like, comment, subscribe to the channel, JLJ Media, of course. We would appreciate it. And we did do season 1. So if you guys haven't watched it, go back and watch season 1. If you're watching it now, we did season 1. So you go ahead and check that out. And we did documentary and everything. So those episodes are up and out. Miss Emily May, overall, what'd you think?
Okay, so last episode, it was very just on Carrie. And I have been asking, this whole time, what is happening with Steve? Yes. Where is Steve? And we got to see it this episode.
Yes.
This episode was we had this one episode last season that was the first episode that made us feel like it was kind of like the original series, right? It had a lot of sex. It had a lot of drama. And this episode was the first one of the season of the second season that made me feel like, okay, we're in a Sex and the City episode. But it made me so mad. Some of the things that were going on, the whole Miranda and Steve thing made me mad. There was a bunch of things with Carrie and our old that made me mad. So much frustration, but I couldn't stop watching.
I love it, Emily. No, it's true. This is funny you said, because I was going to say, this was the first episode in a while where it felt like the old Sex and the City. It really did. I laughed a lot. There was the awkwardness of situations.
It was the Charlotte thing was awkward.
Yes.
But so Sex and the City. And then the one, we'll get into it, but the whole dinner party anniversary thing, I was trying to understand the storytelling mechanism, why they had that in there. So there were so many things that some things I think they did well, some things I think they didn't need to have. And some things just made me mad about where the characters were going and what they represented. That's
so funny. Yes. So. I seriously, for me, for sure. 1 second. There we go. I don't know who that was. Give us people. There's leopards.
People messaging?
Well, one person was somebody who was weird. So I'm like, okay, bye. Okay, so good. Okay. Behind Leopardess, you ever watched today's episode? But okay, we're going to let you know we're telling spoilers. So it's fine. So you go back and watch afterwards. But thanks for joining us. We'd like to have you here. Okay, so my same thing was I just really felt like it was an old Sex and the City episode. So it's funny you said that. And I thought of you. We're gonna start with that. We're gonna start with that storyline first, I think. No. Let's start with the one that's the least. Let's start with the LW storyline, that whole dinner party situation. Because that was the weirdest of the stories. The oddest of the stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so LW, so folks didn't watch it, of course. Thanks for the hearts. So she and her husband, the kids for the big stories, the kids go off to camp. So the adults are happy. It's kind of funny. That's kind of.
And is it summer camp or is it just like a weekend away?
It's summer camp. I think it's summer camp. So they
okay.
So I think it's a month or something. No, I think it's 3 weeks or a month, something like that. It's been going for a little while. So it's so much. So they get to be free and everything. And so now LW and her husband, they decide. Well, he mentions kind of that he wants to run for city comptroller. Okay, but they didn't fully go into that heavily. It's they want to do something different. But then it was kind of she does a lot of work. So he's going to take work off of her for this party, their 20th anniversary. So, but her father is coming. So now I'm meeting her father, which is fine.
Yeah.
He's a good father, who is Billy D. Williams. I'm like, okay, Billy D. Williams, who's a poet and all this stuff.
Yeah. Best voice ever.
Oh, I mean, hello. And then you got the crazy thing, the mother who's just a bitch.
Seriously.
I mean, just seriously. They were like, so she's there.
That mom reminded me of people I know, and I was like, oh God, I was like having like triggered. I was like, oh God, I know people like this, that you invite them and you can't make them happy ever.
Ever. Can't make them happy at all. Always running her mouth. But the whole thing was kind of, they never really they never had this, I mean, I know you can tell, let me just tell my thing, just tell my thing first and you'll tell yours. So the thing I think I'm picking up on also is that it wasn't a fully formed story. It was kind of like, make a mistake, they bring in this other guy who's like this revered gallery owner, that Charlotte, so he brings up Charlotte's past. That was kind of cool when she's back a gallery owner. But their story was he forgot to send out the invitations. And then she forgot to order the cake. So they kind of fell apart. The mother goes off on her, the father goes off on the mother about the son. Yeah. And then she's like, he's running city council. They decided he was not going to do it. But you're right. I wish there was some kind of conversation either after that or, but so it was just like, oh, okay, that's just kind of weird. Anyway, what are your thoughts about that storyline?
Well, I didn't. So at first I thought, okay, they're gonna have a cool party. Like Charlotte is gonna, like, I loved how she met, the gallery owner, and kind of maybe that's a new chapter for Charlotte, right? So like they had to find some device to like get to that moment, right? But did they have to like not invite everyone? Like it just, first of all, I was thinking, like, I hosted a dinner party in December, right? I hosted 15 people at my house and I planned all the food. I planned everything. And I followed up. I sent them an invitation and I followed up with each person individually, and said, hey, are you coming? And then followed up like a week before and followed up the day before. And you do that. So I don't know anyone, especially in New York high society, these folks are, you would not follow up after 30, you wouldn't follow up with 30 people at this fancy dinner, this 4-course meal. I don't know anyone that would not follow up. So I was so irritated because it made them look so dumb. And they're two very smart people.
Yeah, you're right. At some point, if he was doing everything while he was checking up on the food and stuff, like, and then they would probably say, what's your final count? I've done enough.
Exactly. I don't know anyone that would make a final count. Just say, yeah, all 30 people are going to show up.
Right.
Like you have your count. You're like, 18 people are going to show up.
Exactly.
20 people are going to show up. So I just felt like it was so out of character for both of them to do something like that. I get they're trying to show that they're like so busy. They can't concentrate on one thing, but they're smarter than that. So like, it kind of made me mad. And in that sense where I was like, they're smarter. They know better.
I agree. Totally agree.
I get they wanted to like build some chaotic moment where like they could have that breaking point where he's like, okay, I'm going to run, or she's like, I'm going to run, like have you run for comptroller, which doesn't help the situation. It actually makes it worse.
Yes. So I guess we'll be seeing that, I guess. I guess that's the route. But I agree with you. It's like, there's certain things in place, or it could have been, I forgot to pick up the cake, not or you would have ordered it. It's your 20th anniversary, you would have ordered it. Like you forgot to pick it up, it's one thing. Or I forgot to have it delivered, that's one thing. But to not even order it, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that would be like, oh, whoops, I look a week before the party would be like, oh man, what am I forgetting? Oh, the cake.
Right.
I just felt like it was so like flippant, like so like not important really. Which a 20th anniversary party should be important, But like they both didn't put that effort in. So it made me a little irritated. And I felt like you didn't need that storyline.
Yeah.
What was happening with Miranda, what was happening with Carrie, and all that was kind of the main plot points of this episode. Yeah.
That's why I said I'll start with that. That was kind of, but I guess what's going to be coming out of that a little bit is the
Charlotte.
Will she go back to her?
And I think this is an important topic, which I think is an important theme for Charlotte, is she was so focused on her kids, she did put her career aside. And so now she they are older. She doesn't necessarily need to be at home all the time. So I think this is going to be her next chapter, and we'll see kind of career-wise where she's going to go. So I think that's at least the interesting nugget that's coming out of it is like, oh, I'm excited to kind of have Charlotte break that mold a little bit, get back in the workforce, do what she loves. And that's like selling art, finding artists, things like that.
Because last season when they were at the dinner party, another dinner party, and she mentioned she knew all the arts.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, oh, okay, you know your art. It's like, okay, so the art thing is still with her. She just became a mother.
Yeah, I don't think that ever goes away.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, sexy Billy D. Billy was on there. I was like, oh, Billy D. Williams, a legend.
I loved it. I love these little cameos that we've been seeing. I think they're like nice little nuggets.
I agree with you on that. So the next storyline we'll go to is actually the Charlotte story, which was the very sex of Sex and the City of And Just Like That, and the invisible jizz. We'll say it that way. Excuse our language.
Were you taking shots every time they said it? I was like, oh, we should have taken a shot.
I know. He said it's like we did a real watch. Oh my God, I couldn't stop laughing at that dinner table. I mean, at lunch, it was so, that was old Sex and the City.
That was totally like, I was like, oh, Samantha's at the table.
Right. Well, remember Funky Spunk? That was a famous episode when Samantha said it's funny. That was way back in the day. So I was like, it's like a successor of that. Anyway, and it was just, oh my God, I couldn't stop laughing. What's side note, let's get serious or anything, really super serious. My stepdad, may he rest in peace, he had prostate cancer or whatever. So yeah, he had some stuff removed. And he lived fine till later. But he was saying that when he had it removed, nothing came out because he would feel orgasms and nothing would come out. He goes, it felt great. I had to clean up nothing. It was great. So it was funny when he said that. He had to clean anything up and everything was kind of like, okay. And it's just funny seeing Charlotte, because she's been married for a long time now, being really sexual. Being fully sexual. I mean, this is a Trey we're talking about back in the day. So like, this is a whole different
Oh, no. Yeah. I mean, what's so funny is Charlotte kind of like confounds my brain sometimes because she's like, she's so like, this was the first episode we've seen in a while where she's like super sexual. She's really talking about things. But then in public, she's very like, I don't want to talk about things. So like, I was like, how long has it been where these are your closest friends and you still can't talk about things? And I mean, she did a little bit. She obviously brought up the issue, but she's so guarded sometimes still.
She can't help it.
It's so fun.
But you know what? That is
it's so funny. But I do like to see, I like to see that she still is really active with Harry, that she's still like, they're still in love. They're still doing stuff. They're still like doing fun things. And I love that. Like, I love that we're seeing her really like still so connected with him.
Yeah. I know people who always tell me they're fighting, like they live in California. I'm fighting my Midwest upbringing. I'm trying to be so I think there's something that you always kind of fight against sometimes. Your upbringing or whatever. And she was upper crust. I mean, she was very much, it wasn't until she met these ladies that evolved. She let her hair down a lot more. And that famous episode where she was more like Charlotte, I mean, she was more like Samantha, she thought, and Samantha was more like Charlotte sometimes. Like, I love the episodes, like they kind of influenced each other. And so, but I was like, it's appropriate. She's been married for a long time. And she goes, I remember the whole Kegel thing. That was from the last show. That was from the original season. And I was like, it's like she, of course, and that whole scene was hilarious. It's just like, it reminded me of old Sex and the City with, Harry laying on the ground. It's just like trying to grab each other's crotch areas. It's like, it must be so much fun just to do the scene.
Yeah.
Because literally they've been working together for off and on for 30 years. I mean, they must be very comfortable with each other. But I was just like, this is old Sex and the City.
I loved it. It was like so hilarious. Like that scene of her, like, I do 10 sets 3 times a day. Like, I loved it. It was, or 3 sets, 10, whatever.
Yeah, 3 sets, 10 times
a day.
It's like, yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
I was like, I loved it. Like, it was that old Sex of the City feel. I was like, oh, this is like why we watch the show, right? You get these quirky moments of like everyone trying to figure out their sexuality, even like, even at their age and still exploring each other. And I love how Harry didn't really fight. Like, he was like, I'm down. Like, let's figure it out. And it was comedic and charming. It was really fun.
And Harry, the thing about her and Sean, because remember, she was trying to go for the perfect man.
Oh, yeah.
Met Harry. And they work. It's like he's very easygoing for most of the time. Except for last season, we thought about not saying when she knocked him over. That was funny. But he's very easygoing and just like, okay, let's figure this out. I mean, I thought that was very cool. They still work together. And that was very Sex and the City.
Oh yeah, totally. Like this was reminiscent of the episodes of the original series where I was like, oh, this feels like a sexual dilemma that brings up at the lunch table and they have to figure it out. And then at the end of the episode, we kind of see the kind of solution or conclusion of it. So I like it.
We saw the happy ending.
We saw that happy ending, you know.
The happy ending, yes. Now, here I think the top two stories, I think this one is probably going to get the most attention because I can tell a lot of folks, I was talking to some folks the other day, they're like, oh, you guys do the after show. So we do. So they're watching our show. Thank you guys for watching. But they were like, Miranda. Most people are having the hardest time with Miranda.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. I get it. No, I get it. So this episode, basically, Che is back. They bought an apartment in New York. And so is the current husband, I guess the husband or whatever he is.
Technically, I think they're still married.
I think they're still married too, right? I think they're still married. Yeah. Okay, so they're married a couple of years. Married. So Carrie comes over, because that's obviously her friend also. They come over. I love her husband's hot, so I'm like, I'll take it. He's hot. It's like I can see it a little bit, but they didn't go that route with her. They didn't go that route with him and Carrie.
I thought there was going to be some spark. There was kind of some flirtation, some spark.
Right, but they didn't do that though, did they? I don't think they went that direction. They went the other direction.
They went the other direction.
I was like, all righty. And so, but basically, the four of them are sitting there on the bed, which I kind of love that part. They were just drinking and eating or whatever. And it's revealed through the husband, I guess, all about their marriage. I mean, we get a whole backstory finally.
Yeah.
A whole backstory, but about threesomes and being poly and all this kind of stuff. And Miranda's kind of sitting there, and you see this whole thing. Miranda is changing. She's trying to be open to things. You can tell, and she's like, I like that her and Shay are really honest with each other, and it's really cool that they just talk it out. But she's just kind of like, I'm trying to listen, not run, not run or anything. It's like, good girl. She's listening, and they're in bed. The couch is broken from a funny little minute earlier in the show, and they're in the bed. And they sort of fool around as homeboy's asleep next to them, which I thought
I knew when he fell asleep in the bed, I knew something was gonna go happen because Che was like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, oh, he sleeps, whatever. He's not gonna wake up. I'm like, really? It's Sex in the City. Of course he's gonna wake up.
And parts of him did wake up. And
they're dead.
He's awake. And Miranda said, I didn't think for a second. That part was kind of funny. I don't, because I know what my first instinct, and I'm trying to process this. I thought that's actually very smart of her, very realistic. But they end up playing together. I don't know if I like that. Not because I'm a prude or because I'm a three-way, but I'm like, this is now getting super messy.
Anytime there's a third person, fourth person, there's gonna get messy. So just when there's another person, it's messy. Yeah, when there's one other person, it's messy. When you have three, it gets even messier. Yes. I was yelling the whole time, what about Steve?
Yes. And okay, so earlier in the episode.
Not that I'm like against threesomes or whatever.
Right. I'm with you.
You do what you like, right? But I was just like, Miranda, like she's thinking about it. She says she had to stop and think, but she's not stopping to think about everything else.
And earlier in the episode, we finally see Steve. We're looking good.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Steve. I was like, Miranda, why aren't you with Steve right now?
I know, he looked good. But there's a whole punching bag thing he's doing in the morning. Brady and stuff.
He had to punch something.
So they go to therapy.
Yeah.
For Brady. Mm-hmm. That was very Sex and the City too, kind of. It was like, oh, yeah, going for Brady.
Remember I said that they would probably be in family therapy?
You did say that. So I thought of you. You said it on the show. So they were in family therapy, but he's like, I'm done. Louise is gone. I'm done. And so like, oh, good. So then he brings it up. But I thought it was kind of cool, actually. He was like, okay, now it's not about your breakup. And so we see that they're not really talking about it. They're trying to play it off. What do you think? I mean, I almost think Steve's still in love with Miranda.
Well, there obviously I think is some. I mean, there has to be some admiration, some love, because you would not stay in a relationship that long to make that, you're making that agreement, like, okay, I'm not going to punch Miranda, but Miranda will do this for me. Like, I'll stay on the couch. I was like, Brady's old enough where it's like, it's not like he's 5 years old anymore. He's old enough to understand, and he understands. He's like, are you guys going to be together or not? Like, he wants that answer too. We all want that answer. So he needs to, like, they both need to make that decision. And I think Steve is trying to hold on, like, okay, maybe there's some hope. Maybe Miranda just needs to go through this phase of, like, figuring out her identity, her sexual reawakening, figuring out what she really wants. Because maybe it's just a fling. Maybe it's just going to last a little while, and then she realizes, or she realizes Steve is for her. She wants a more simpler life, or she wants to explore other things. But she needs to make that decision because their kid is old enough. He's 20 something years old.
I think he's now officially 18 or 19. Like, he's
19, 18 or 19, right? He's an adult, right? Yeah, he's an adult. He knows, like, okay, my parents might not stay together. It's not like he's a toddler, a kid, a teenager.
No.
He's old enough to understand. He went through a breakup. He knows.
Yeah, he does.
It made me like, Miranda is such a smart person when it came to being a lawyer and being, working at corporations and doing all this stuff. But then, like, when it came to, like, making a decision for herself and for the relationships in her life, she just kind of threw that away. And one of the moments I wanted to tell you, one of the comments that she made in the bed when they were talking about Che and their marriage, right? And there was a comment about, and I was cutting up baby carrots, and I was chopping up carrots, right? And so I was watching it, and Brandon, my husband, was watching too. And this was the first episode he's been watching, but he knows I'm a huge Sex and the City fan. I've made him watch episodes. He knows. And he got so mad about that comment. It was like the one comment that took him out. Because Miranda, and I asked him why. I was like, why are you so upset about this comment? And he felt that Miranda was so dismissive of the life she built and the fact that she had a son and that she took time off to raise her son, and that it was his fault, that now she has to go through this kind of sexual reawakening right now.
Okay.
So I thought that was an interesting take from someone that was, like, coming in new.
Yeah.
And that it was the tone in which she said it, that she was so like, and I was just cutting baby carrots. Like, I had to take care of this kid while I could have been off doing all of these other fun things. And that was kind of the undertone. And I was like, it kind of like, and as I thought about it, as the episode continued, I kind of felt that way. Because she kind of was like, the life I built with Steve and the life I led is not what I wanted. And so it kind of felt like there was those undertones.
Well, it's I see what he's saying. It's kind of like there's this disrespect, disregard. It's almost like from in my case, because I came out of the closet at some point, but I was dating people so I never dismissed my life before. I never dismissed it. It's like that was my life before, and then I awakened and have my life now. So I guess, but right now she's not that space yet. Miranda's not at that space at all. She's not reflecting on anything.
Yeah, and like I guess she's like having this like really emotional, physical attraction and relationship right now. But she needs to either make the decision to close this chapter and say, okay, Steve, I'm gonna officially separate, get my place. And she did mention that. She said, okay, I guess I'll get my place. But it wasn't, he'll do it. But that wasn't like really an official decision from her. It was just, she's letting things happen around her and not actually making the decision. And she needs, in order for her to move on with whoever she wants to move on with, in however way she wants to move on, she needs to make that decision. She needs to go forward and say, hey, I'm going to be with Steve, or I'm going to go and LA and, make that call. But I feel like she's just letting, and even in the trailer that we see for the next episode, she's like, oh, she said something about like the mess of the life, the mess that she had or she's having right now. And Brandon watched the trailer and said, oh, well, it's of her own making.
Yes.
And I was like, ooh, okay, insightful, because I do feel like she isn't taking agency of her life. She isn't saying, go this direction, I'm going to go that direction, but I'm going to make the call. It might be the wrong call, but I'm going to make that decision. And she hasn't made. And what's so funny is Miranda was always the rational one that was like, all right, I'm going to go here. She always thought things through, and she's going the opposite direction where it's just totally irrational and not thought through.
Yes, and that's what it is. And I think you hit the nail. You guys hit the nail on the head. It's Miranda the lawyer, the one thinks everything through, plays everything's safe to the vest, is gone buck wild. She's on her buck wild stage, and I think, and for her buck wild stage is Che, because even Brady kept saying, "Are you separating? Like, what are you doing? What are you like telling?" And he goes, and he goes, "This is not. I just want to tell you, this is not my mother. Or this is not she really is. Or whatever he said about that. It's not my real. It's not how she really is. Like that."
Yeah,
I love that.
And what's also frustrating is they had the therapy session, and she was so quiet. Everyone else was saying things. She didn't say anything, and then she's talking, and then in the next scene, she says, "Oh, I have so much to say." And I was like, you need to say it out loud. Whatever those feelings are, they're not going to be good. They're not going to be bad.
She feels bad, but she said, I messed everything up.
Yes. I think she feels guilty because she's uprooted everyone's life. She's changed. Even her friends' lives have changed because I'm sure they love Steve. Steve has been around just as long as all of the other guys.
He's been around longer than Harry.
Longer than Harry.
And
probably maybe almost the same as Big.
Almost.
Almost. Like he's mid,
But she met Big, I think, the first, second episode. Like that's the car that she saw him in the car.
Oh yeah, that's true. So maybe not as long as him, but
because Steve came along. Nobody looked was close enough. I think Steve came second. Somebody at home could tell us. I think Steve came second season. And
I think like beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, because she had been dating all this stuff, and then she got. He remember he was a one night stand.
Yeah.
And she got done with them, and so but he was around. No, he was around for a long time for most of the series. He was on for a long.
So that's why it's like I'm glad we're going to see more of him, because obviously there needs to be some resolution here. I would love to see some type of like positive resolution where we like Miranda makes her decision, even if it's her and Steve are just friends. Like, okay, because I don't think you can, and I would love your opinion on this. I don't know, especially kid together, I don't think you can totally disregard someone like that. Like, it is the father of your child. I don't think you can. I mean, my parents are divorced, but like, I don't think you can just you would still care, like, to make sure that person's still okay. I think if like you've been with that person such a long time, you still care for their well-being.
I just think if the show is going the way I think it might go, it may come down to a big decision towards the end of the season, where she's going to be forced.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things, her hands will be forced to make a decision.
I think the show is. I think Shay's show is gonna. Their show's gonna get picked up.
Right.
I think there's gonna be a decision of like, okay, well, I'm gonna stay in LA, and Miranda's gonna have to make a decision.
And she don't even know. She don't leave New York. She don't leave New York. She doesn't. So So will she go back to the life she had that's safe, or try something? I think that might be what they're coming toward. So we'll get towards the end of the season. But I think they're trying to set up for us. I'm glad they brought Steve back.
This is the 4th episode. Do we know if there's like 8 episodes, 7?
Oh, I think there's 11 or 12. I think we have a bunch. We have a bunch.
Ooh, okay.
I gotta look. I can't remember.
Right.
But I think we have a bunch coming up, so we still got time. But mid-season would be, or just season 5, episode 5 or 6 is actually, I think turning points would happen anyway, whether it's an 8 episode or 10 or 12. That's when things should start turning. The turning points should happen.
Mm-hmm.
So with Miranda and them, I'm glad now Steve is there. We know no one's talking. Then she has Che over here, and they got a wild kind of life. Which one is safe Miranda going to choose?
I had this thought.
Yes.
Also, when the whole threesome thing happened in bed, I was like, oh, is this going to turn into like Steve and Miranda and Che kind of thing? Maybe, but then Miranda didn't like it. So I thought, no, I don't think that's going to happen, but maybe. It's Sex in the City.
It's Sex in the City. You never know.
I was like, maybe that's the compromise. Maybe they'll be like, hey, can we kind of do
a whole communal, like I said,
a whole communal existence thing. Maybe they'll have an open marriage or an open kind of relationship. I don't know.
I don't either. So that's Miranda.
I had so many feels with this one.
I know. I think everybody's going to. So anybody watching, I know you probably share your thoughts. I have a feeling the Miranda storyline is the one everybody's going to be talking about.
I was gonna tweet at you so many times. I was like, Steve's back, and then damn Miranda. I was so like but I couldn't tweet fast enough.
Yes, I saw Steve. I saw the punching bag. I was like, what's that noise? I thought it was a sex noise.
No, we knew right away. We were watching. I was like, okay. Oh, punching bag. Yeah, it's the cadence. Okay. The sound is different.
Okay, well, you guys work, in wrestling stuff. You know better than I would. I have no idea. I'm like, is this sex or is it a washing machine? Like, what's going on? I was like, something's going on.
I think they tried to make a joke of it, but yeah, it was a punching bag because he has to get his aggression out somehow. Like, can you imagine all that pent up frustration?
He's working out apparently, so that's what
I want to know: is Steve being completely loyal to Miranda and not having sex with anyone else, or is he going out too? I want to know that as well. Because I think Steve is very loyal. He obviously is so super loyal. He's still there. Yeah. So that was one thing in the back of my head too. I was like, if Steve is like such a patient little puppy, he's just waiting around for Miranda to come back.
Yes.
It breaks my heart.
I know.
Because he needs to he deserves happiness too. And I feel like he's sacrificing his own well-being by hoping like, okay, maybe Miranda will come back.
And it'd be interesting if,
but anyway, we can talk about this storyline all day. Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, if he did start seeing somebody, how Miranda feel?
I know. See, that's the thing. Is that going to be the trigger in a few episodes where Steve's like, I'm going to go see other people? Or maybe Miranda walks in and sees him with someone else, and that triggers her to be like, oh no, I don't feel right about this. She's done that before, where there's this double standard.
I know.
That's why I'm like, ooh, maybe that's like another layer of complication.
And then Chase sees that and goes, wait a minute.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm predicting it's going to be messy. I have a feeling, Emily, I don't think it's going to be this clean cut, separate. It's going to be messy.
Yeah.
There's feelings involved with everybody. It's going to be messy. It's going to be totally messy. And the last big storyline, of course, is our main girl, Carrie. So there's many times I was laughing and throughout this part. They brought back Bitsy, and they finally, she says, I always thought he was gay. Remember, that's the whole thing in the. It
was a whole funny storyline where no one was saying the obvious.
Right. So it's funny. She's like, well, of course he was. That's why he tried harder. I laughed so hard. I was like, at least she finally, after all these years, said that.
Finally, yeah.
And that kind of made me chuckle and everything. I like Bitsy. She's funny. But first, Carrie's getting these texts from a guy, Martin. She's like, who's that? And this was going on at first, and it turns out it's Bitsy who's sending it. And we'll talk about later what happens later with Edith. But anyway, the funny part was also she's having lunch with homeboy. I love Bobby. I love their friends. They're friends. And she gives an autograph book. Her book's coming out. But Enid tries to sneak past her, which is hilarious. And she's like, "Oh my God, Enid!" Folks, of course, the great Candice Bergen, who ran Vogue, and now she's not in Vogue anymore. And so they let her go. She started her own thing. And the funny part was, it's a senior citizens, I guess, digital magazine. And I thought that's hilarious. And somebody who's in their 50s myself, who hasn't reached senior status yet. I got one more year. But I have an AAP card. I do have one. I like discounts. It's like, oh my God. It was just like, we are this an hour. And I couldn't stop, because that's been happening to me. I totally understand that. I'm like, I am older, but I'm not that old yet. Like, that was funny. And it was hilarious. I thought
I was chuckling a bit.
It was realistic. So Carrie wants her book to be seen in her popular blog, but she's like, I can't do it. I'll do it for everybody else. But turns out she wants Carrie's money. You know, until later. Makes sense. But even Homegirl kept saying everything's which you and I know this, everything's transactional. You can always work something out. That part was that was all funny too, with her talking her up about the whole thing. Like, Carrie, I think Carrie should know by now. You've been in New York for 30 years. You should know that everything's I mean, that part was a little Carrie. Sometimes they play Carrie as super naive. And that's because she's in her 50s and she's been in the business.
Yeah. And she knows, like, even like LA, New York, all those big cities are like, you want to get into the best parties. So you invite them. You invite the person you know that can get you in somewhere. Like, it's always like, it is transactional. You're like, all right, you go here and then you'll get me in here. Like, it's always been like that. Like, Samantha was a great example of that.
Yes.
She was in PR. So she would always have these transactional, like, I could get you into this party because I did this, you know? And so Carrie should know that.
So she should know that. But the fight, oh my God, I could don't take a picture next to somebody with a walker. And she walks in, they're like, can you get the two of you guys together? I laughed. So again, very Sex and the City.
That was really funny.
It's really funny. Like, I don't, you know.
She like bolted. She's like, no.
That was hilarious. But Canspert, of course, there, but Gloria Steinem. Okay,
yeah.
I don't know about Gloria Steinem. Wow, I was like, okay, and Bitsy was there too. But it was like, and that's what revealed Bitsy centered the guy and all stuff. But it was like, oh, Gloria Steinem was here and actually acted a little bit, did a little bit of acting.
Yeah, this was like a high-powered, like, superstar episode. We had some really great cameos. Even like they were just a few minutes, but it was really like, oh, they're like pulling all the stops on this one.
But the thing about Carrie, this is interesting. So now the podcast is over. And so now she's trying to figure out, her book's coming out. Now she's trying to figure out her life. This is very interesting. And there is kind of this existential thing. Do I write for this old folks magazine? What does that say about me? Is it the death knell? I mean, I totally get her trying to figure this out because she's thinking, I'm assuming on the show she's in her late 50s. I think there are a few of them 3 years older than I am. And I was like, I kind of get her dilemma of like, do I really want to do this? And like, is this my thing? And Enid's trying to hold on to her youth on some level. She's always been that way because she's aging as a woman. She's aging out, and they're feeling a certain way. And so I thought that was interesting that there were all these old women were there, and Carrie's kind of thinking about this, like, do I want to do this? Like, do I really want to do this? So I don't know. But then it comes out after Homegirl sends her a dick pic of Martin. And it's a picture, and so it's Gloria Steinem and Enid and her take a picture together, and she sees the dick pic, and that's her man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did not see coming. I was like,
Edith's man. It's Edith's man. Yeah.
Yeah, Edith's man. I didn't see that. I didn't see that coming. Like, oh, but apparently he helps out lonely old women, I guess, come back to life.
I think he gets around. It sounds like.
Yes, I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, that's very Sex and the City. And somehow it becomes this bargaining chip for them. He's like, okay, I'll sign a check. And just like that, she gets my PayPal, which is kind of funny because you pay.
But okay, how do you feel? I was irritated. Like, I thought it was very cool that Edith invited Carrie and said the comment about, well, you just came into, a lot of wealth. And I was like, her husband died a year ago, and you were trying to mine her for money because you know that he was like this big, investor. I was like, that is so awful. And I would have walked out right there. I'm sorry. I don't care if there was a dick pic on my phone. I do not care if someone had that leverage. I would be like, you know what? You weren't nice to me when you were my editor, and you're not nice to me now. And I would walk out. I was like, I'm not giving you money.
I agree. And the thing was, remember earlier when she ran into her, she's like, I'm sorry I didn't come to the funeral. I'm sorry I didn't do this. I'm sorry I didn't write your letter.
Yeah.
She literally ghosted her.
And she lied about the email saying, oh, I didn't get the email. Oh, no, well, I did. Like, right. No, I'm sorry.
I know.
No, you're out. You're out.
I'm the same way. But it was like, Carrie's kind of like, oh, she him and haw. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes I think they play Carrie a little too soft and too wishy-washy. It's like, no, you've been around long. You're a New Yorker, Carrie. And at this point you should know better.
Exactly. there's a bluntness about New Yorkers that I get it. Like Carrie should have by now. And
Yes.
which she's had moments of, we've seen moments of it come out, but in this moment, the fact that Edith treated her with such disregard and treated her as a cash chip, like, oh, well, I'm going to just invite her because I'm going to get money from her, but not reciprocate. Again, we talked about that transactional relationship, but not even publicize her book. We'll find out she does later, but it was so disrespectful and hurtful. I would have walked out. I would have been like, I'm 50 something years old. I don't need to be in this group right now.
I know.
Nope.
But she chooses to engage. So I guess we'll probably see it again. We'll see how that.
So I think it's just the beginning, and maybe Carrie, maybe this is like her next chapter too. Just like we'll know about Charlotte if she's going to start being a part of the art gallery, art world again. But I just, and I'm sure Carrie probably, inherited a lot of money, but like that's not a reason to be friends with someone,
Well, so her book is coming out. So I said her book just came out. So that's,
and then she has a second. She did say she has 2 more books. She has the second one she's working on, and then a third one. So she has a 3-book deal. One's already out. It doesn't sound like it's selling very well.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this will help.
Yes, that. But I'm thinking she can still do a podcast. I say you don't have to do, unless you're gonna become a writer again and do digital writing, and blogs are big and that kind of stuff. So I mean. Maybe I think they're moving her around, seeing what they can do with her, I think. But I wonder if she'll settle on something. Like you said, I guess so her and Charlotte, that's their thing, is this career.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for Carrie, it'll be career and relationship, but I think both it's career. What do you do after the world changes, and you're getting older? And I mean, I got a whole new career in my 40s. Like I got to all this in my 40s. So I had no clue I'd be here. So
yeah, I mean, everyone goes through changes and chapters and different things in career and love and all that. So we're seeing the different varieties. Obviously, we've watched these women have different chapters. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know if you saw in the trailer. You saw the trailer for next episode. Carrie hit Aiden with like, does she run into him? Does she knock him over? Is that how we see Aiden again?
I guess so.
Or is it someone else? Because we have 12 episodes.
I keep saying she'll deserve Aiden. Aiden was too good for her. But I'm curious. We'll see what happens. We will see.
Do you want to know? I started rewatching that season.
Oh. Carrie was so wrong.
And I realized how much I hate Carrie in that season.
I know.
When she doesn't want to wear the ring on her finger and she wears it on her neck. And I realized if I didn't wear my ring on my finger when I got engaged, Brandon would have had a freaking fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Understandably.
Yeah.
And Aiden was so understanding of like, okay, she's doing it in her own time. But I feel like Carrie was never over big at that point. Kind of settled. And all of these feelings, realizing how much I hated Carrie in those episodes.
When he finally said you broke my heart that first time, she deserved it.
I just got chills. Like it literally breaks my heart.
Yes, because she deserved it. She deserved that.
She broke his heart multiple times in many ways. And she was such a narcissist during those, like, just all about her. And looking back, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to feel when he comes back.
I know. I mean, they're older. Maybe she's more mature.
Maybe a little wiser, A
little wiser. There's no kids to worry about. I mean, he has kids, but there's no kids to worry about. How many kids? Now it's going to be an adult relationship. There's no big. I mean, literally, unless in her mind is still stuck with him.
Exactly.
But physically, he's not here. So it could clear the way.
I did hear in an interview that it does get very physical.
Okay.
So we'll leave it at that because we don't know what's going to exactly happen. So it might just be physical. But I want to know, like, did he lose his wife too? Or did they get a divorce?
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out.
Yeah.
This kid would be grown by now. That one baby, it should be grown by now. So yeah, it'll be in his 20s.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little younger, I think like around Brady's age or whatever. So yeah. Or a little.
Anyway, I had all the feelings when I was rewatching, and I was like, oof.
Oh no, I tell people I started disliking Carrie several seasons, realizing she's like really not. She's not good. Like she is very self-centered. But I know women actually who are like her, who they don't mean to be self-centered sometimes. They're trying to make their way. And so it's very much about self. And that's why they're not in relationships. That's why they're not in, it's all about.
And when you're 20s and 30s, sometimes like you're selfish. You're going to be selfish. You're going to want it to be about, you and your needs and your wants. But then hopefully now she was with Big a long time. She's grown. And so, maybe she's evolved, but we'll see.
We'll see. And and just like that, we're done. That's our answer. Like that, episode 4. I told you Miranda would be the one we talk about the most. I knew that'd be the one. I just have a feeling Miranda's gonna be the ones that cause, because there's some folks still have a problem with Che, which I don't have a problem with Che, actually. I don't have a problem with Che. I mean, there are a lot of folks who do. So
no, I don't have any issues. I just want to know what the resolution is going to be. Like, I just want Miranda to make the decision who she wants to be with. That's all I want. Like, I don't care who it's with. I just want the decision.
And so does Brady. So you and Brady, I'm wanting her to say something, make a decision.
Yeah. And
probably Steve too. So they all want it. They all want it. So where can they follow you, Emily May? Where they want to follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on all social platforms at Emily May Heller. And I know there's more platforms popping up as like every day. So just follow me everywhere. Look me up, find me. And we'll chat about Sex in the City or wrestling or interviews, media, cooking, everything.
I know. There was like Spoutable and Threads and Blue Sky. I mean, I don't even know what's going on. I'm just like waiting for everything to settle because I don't know what's going on. So,
everything's like whoa, all over right now.
It's like every day.
Me, I'm around.
He's around. I met James Lott Jr. everywhere too. So if I join these new things, just look for James Lott Jr. You'll find me also because I'm confused by everything. I'm trying to just see what's going on here. As we go through this, but we appreciate you. We'll be back next Thursday, of course, night, talking about And Just Like That, season 2.